Hey Wolfpack, and welcome back. Sorry about not being able to upload yesterday. My audio got corrupted and I didn't have time to redo everything. The winner of the giveaway is Claudia Schwartz. Please check your email and or Twitter, I have sent you a message about it. Regardless, with that said, whether you're sitting around a campfire, on the night shift, or even laying in bed, let my voice soothe your nightmares. I guess you could trace my current situation back to two factors: my New Year's resolution and my weakness to aggressive marketing. It started this Christmas that I returned home after a long time. It was nice to see my family after being abroad and constantly on the road working. Unfortunately, my employment makes me travel a lot. You see, I'm a public relations manager for a big company, and this forces me to be in all kinds of different places all over the world. Of course, I don't complain, and traveling is always a beautiful experience, but you can get homesick pretty easily. Now, having traveled pretty much everywhere this year, I managed to attend all sorts of events, mainly music concerts from bands that very rarely visit my home place, from Muse to Dream Theater, to my childhood love, which was Manowar, and then back to rock music with Sum 41. I am sharing these moments because they were what flared up my old passion, the love I used to have for playing music myself. After spending the first few holiday nights at my parents' place, I got to their basement and rediscovered my old electric guitar and my amplifier that I had almost forgotten there. For more than 6 years. You can imagine that the playing was very clumsy, but I managed to pull out some chords and basic melodies. My job had made me forget about music, but now I have found my passion again. I vowed to not lose it again either. It was honestly a wholesome moment. Then I managed to relearn some old songs and play them, while singing out with the family like we did back when I was just a kid. Unfortunately, reality hits you no matter what you do. While preparing for my flight home, I did pack my guitar and a small practice amp I had just bought, but I knew I wouldn't play with them that much. Next week, I would have to travel again, and my schedule would be really busy. So, realistically, I would very rarely even touch the guitar at all. Nevertheless, I started looking for some guitar gear, and since Google is smarter than me, while I was doing my research, it started bombarding me with ads about small portable instruments that you could easily learn. Normally, I just ditch such kind of ads, but this time, they looked interesting. A small instrument that didn't need extensive practicing, and that I could play with any time? This actually sounded practical and interesting, and the prices weren't too shabby either. I started by getting a kalimba I saw on Facebook. My order arrived around 2 weeks after I made it, but of course, with all the traveling, I got to actually unbox it much later than planned. It was definitely not as hype-worthy as advertised, but it was definitely fun. Of course, the 2 hours of practice and you are going to master it thing was total bullshit, but I used my knowledge in music theory and became pretty good at it soon. I actually took it to my next trip and managed to play with it during the short time that I was in the hotel. After that, I got hooked. I decided to make a small collection from all the pop-up ads I was getting on my social media. Tongue drums, flutes, mini practice guitars, and mini saxophones, you name it. It was quite a fun hobby to have, and my friends were impressed by all these instruments, especially the more exotic ones. I have to be honest though, I was also proud of all the toys I had accumulated. In the back of my mind, I kinda thought I was hoarding on useless stuff, but in general, I was very pleased that I had restarted to play music, and with a bit of effort, I managed to keep my collection tactful and neat. It was nice when I was packing for work trips now. After gathering the necessary clothes and items, I would briefly go through my instruments and pick which one I would love to play more this week. Honestly, it was like a child selecting the toys it wanted to get for a vacation with its parents. Eventually, however, as it always happens with collectors, I run out of things to collect. It wasn't that there were no more instruments for me to buy, but basically everything I could get was a different version of the same thing. I might be an impulsive buyer, but I still had the understanding to not get random stuff just to get my fix. I did want, however, to find some other instrument I might have missed. From pop-up ads, I turned to more productive ways and started to search myself. I got a few things that I had never even seen before, but eventually, these ran out as well. I was pretty certain that I had gathered all there was, but something in me still wanted to search for something so exotic that was just not sold commercially. A limited edition musical instrument for the selected few. I had a stupid idea that seemed so silly that I was not even daring to tell somebody else about. They would laugh at my naivety. I kinda wish I had done so now. Me becoming the laughingstock of my peers would perhaps be enough to stop me from actually following my stupidity. I knew that in the dark web, one can find supposedly anything, although I had never navigated it myself. I always thought that this anything was just referring to drugs, snuff films, excessive violent scenes, and other deranged projections of the human psyche. I really didn't believe you would find simple things such as a musical instrument in a place like that. For me, music has always been about harmony and artistic expression, with the occasional heavy metal inner turbulence shakedown. What did those have to do with disfigured puppies and live-streamed forced scenes? In the end, however, I indulged in my curiosity. I started navigating the dark web. At first, it was completely pointless as I had no idea what I was doing. But I persevered, and in the end, I started understanding how to work around the complexity of it. At first, I got normal stuff, good guitars, basses, and others in an awfully cheap price, which made me question their authenticity, or the way they reached the seller's hands. But in time, things got progressively disturbing. I visited websites that said they had traditional string instruments with animal intestines instead of PVC strings, exactly as they were meant to be played from the start, as one of them claimed. I don't know how PETA would react to such a thing. One of them even claimed to use strings made from humans as they produce a warmer sound tone and a much more sustained sound. I didn't really believe this bullshit, but it was bizarre. And from strings to percussion, I can't really describe how many websites advertise using real skins of animals and humans as the drum surface. Some even claim to be utilizing a setup of wood and bones for the rest of the instrument. I was ready to close the browser software for good, when I got a pop-up. The irony struck me hard. It had started with pop-up ads, and now, after so long, I got another one, in a place that a few months ago I wouldn't even be thinking of visiting. It was an ocarina. That was almost enough to turn me down already. Don't get me wrong, I love the ocarina sound, but I had gotten many myself already, over the past few months, so I was almost ready to close the ad and go to bed. But I decided to read the rest of it just because. Not your typical ocarina, said the ad. Yeah, right. I've heard this before. It's like all marketing specialists graduated from the same school. This ocarina had been handcrafted just for you, and we make one unique instrument with exactly the tone you would desire. There never was or never will be another instrument like this produced ever again. We take pride in making one instrument for every customer. Interesting. I had no idea how they would do that, so my skepticism kept me from going to the purchase window still. Have you ever owned an instrument that you cannot hear, but you can feel with every single molecule of your body? Well, try us. The Infusion Ocarina is truly a work of art, specially made for you, the most demanding musician. 30-day window return policy, no questions asked. Are you ready to take your music to the next level? Shit. That was intriguing, I cannot deny. And it was just $50. So, worst case scenario, I would just throw it away or return it. No big deal. It wouldn't be the first time anyways. I did check to see if that too was made from any freaky materials. I was pleased to see that it was just made from maple and ebony. I moved on to the customize and purchase options. There, I had to laugh. There were no questions about what kind of sound I liked, or what other preferences I had. It just asked a few general questions, but not anything too personal. It was just more like making a sketch of my character, then getting my preference. I really didn't think their claims were legit at this point, but I continued anyways. The last part was the mailing window, and it was the strangest thing so far. And the thing would arrive in approximately 2 weeks, during which time I would be on another job in Utrecht, Netherlands. Therefore, I gave my address at my local post office so that I would receive the parcel after coming home. The moment I clicked on the location I wanted, the system changed it automatically. The address given was the address of my hotel in Utrecht. What the hell? How was that even possible? I tried adding the delivery address I wanted again, and it switched back by itself. This was mesmerizing, and honestly, kind of scary. I had the bright idea of changing the preferred delivery date to a day that I would be home, and this time, my address was not messed up with. I was really scared that the retailer apparently knew personal info I had never given. At this moment, I really wanted to just stop everything and never get in that site ever again. But I figured out that, since they already knew that much about me, I might as well order one. Now, I really wanted to know how deep the rabbit hole was, and so, I purchased it. I remember while pressing the confirm button that I was reading reviews from other customers. "You have to get this. A lifetime experience. My life was changed forever. Any other music is simply inferior." I was now so curious about that mysterious thing that I couldn't wait. I opted for the fastest delivery date, and sure enough, I received the parcel a few weeks later from the receptionist of my hotel in Utrecht. Back in my room, I opened the package. The ocarina was colored partially light brown and partially black, basically the colors of the woodwork used. When I turned it over, however, I read the capitals J.M. written in dark red color with calligraphic letters. My initials. Why were they written on it? I had never given my real name. How much did those people know about me anyways? I should have never played the damn thing. But I almost felt like I wasn't controlling my body. As I was bringing the ocarina to my mouth, I played the first note. I could hear nothing with my ears. However, I felt chills throughout my entire body. It was like the sound was coming from within me, and I could only listen to it in my head. It felt like my soul was pulsating instead of the air, producing an otherworldly soundless tune. I had to keep playing. I already knew how to play an ocarina, and the infusion was tuned like a normal one. I played songs that I had learned before, but it felt like I was hearing them for the first time. It was the most melodic thing I had ever heard before, but it was also very terrifying. It felt like I was running through all human emotions at the same time. I was happy, scared, depressed, and shocked all at once. All the sounds had faded around me, and it seemed like I had my heartbeat and blood pulse for percussion perfectly in tune with my ocarina. I had never felt like this before, experiencing every emotion I had ever had in one go. I finished my last song, tears streaming down my face. I heard a car passing by, and the normal sound it makes sounded like a cacophony of a million terrible things. I cringed so hard at the noise. I then collapsed. When I woke up, I realized that any kind of sound seemed fake to me. I tried playing with the kalimba I had with me. It sounded awfully out of tune, and the normally soothing tunes were now all wrong sounds. Even my own voice echoed like a banshee's in my ears. I looked at the ocarina. It was on the floor where it had fallen after I had faded out. I picked it up and hesitantly played it again. The feelings overwhelmed me, like they had done before. It was the only beautiful sound in the whole world. That night, I didn't sleep well. I was ravaged by nightmares of dark figures hunting me and mocking me. In fact, since that fateful day, I haven't been able to sleep in peace. I've been having constant nightmares since then, and they only get worse by the night. My life hasn't been going better as well. I am constantly tired by the loss of sleep, and the worst thing is that I grew to hate every single sound in the world. I tried getting back to my beloved guitar back home, and it was so terrible that I honestly felt that the noise it made as I was breaking it into a million pieces was almost better. Same thing with all my other instruments, pieces of junk, all of them. I tried to find comfort in the arms of my beloved girlfriend, but she wouldn't understand why I didn't want to listen to a word she said. She tried to comfort me, but her annoying voice, which used to make me smile every morning when I woke up, was now unbearable. I sent her away, telling her that if she didn't shut up, I would go insane. She left me wiping uncontrollably and coursing me loudly, as I was covering my ears to avoid the noise. The sleep deprivation was getting to me. I started mixing the creatures I was seeing in my dreams with reality. I started believing they were really there, and were drawn to me by the tunes of my ocarina. For some reason, this makes so much sense when I think about it. Honestly, I hope they are, so that I will get to stop suffering this awful, noisy, and out-of-tune world. My only happiness came from playing that ocarina. While I was at it, all my demons would subside, and all the outer sounds would stay silent. My entire existence was focused into my art. I would play it until I had no breath left, and collapsed on my bed, where legions of unspeakable things would haunt me until I eventually woke up, drenched in sweat. I did manage to find a small comfort, however. In a desperate move, I pressed 2 pencils deep in my ears, destroying my eardrums forever. The pain was unbearable, and I was screaming like a wounded monster. But finally, everything went silent. After I called an ambulance, I remember smiling, since I was finally in total silence. The pain was excruciating, but at least it was quiet. After my admission to the hospital, I was brought for psychiatric evaluation. Fortunately, I was able to go home and was prescribed some medication. I accepted it, although I knew already that it wouldn't work. Since then, I've stayed home. I am permanently deaf now, and that's the least of my problems. The drugs are of course not working. The demons in my head are more real than ever before, and I live every day in fear and pain. Each morning is worse than the previous, and I don't know how much time I have before I go completely insane. The only thing I have left is my ocarina. I am playing it from dawn to dusk. It keeps the fear away, and helps me find some serenity. Some will argue that this was the cause of my fall, but when I play it, the whole world truly seems like a better place. All in all, despite some minor inconveniences that come with this instrument, the end result is the most life-changing experience you've ever experienced. There is nothing quite like it. I strongly recommend you get one of these. It has truly made me happy. This story goes back to 2006, but I remember it like it was yesterday. When I was 16, I had a really good friend a year younger who was deep into coding. I met him years earlier in a computer club in middle school, and he had become dead set determined in me becoming tech literate over time. The guy knew 3 coding languages by heart in his 7th grade. Anyways, he ends up telling me about Tor and all that while we're chatting with some friends in IRC after school. Some of the older guys had some really interesting stories, and I, of course, dug real deep into all of them. It didn't take long for me to download Tor and start looking up .onion links. My first couple of weeks were spent clicking around, just trying to go deeper and find different things. I was saving all the good links I could find in a note card. I found various things like a dark web search engine, something similar to a hidden wiki, a few conspiracy sites, the usual drug stuff, I wanted to be nowhere near, and even a hitman forum. The thing that made me uninstall Tor came about 2.5 weeks into using it almost religiously after school. I had stumbled on a forum, probably something along the lines of think.evil forums, or some crap like that. It was behind a wall of about 4 or 5 different forums linking deeper and deeper. All of the banter was about really dark topics. Forced films, torture, long-term abuse tactics, cannibalism, you name it. As with anything on the dark web, most of the posts were either weeks or months old. There were a few sub-forums that were more active than others. However, when looking at the main page and seeing which post had the most recent, there was something posted within the last hour. It was a link. Red Room going live soon. Onion jargon here. .onion. At this point, I was hit with a wave of emotion, like none I had ever felt before. I was washed over with a wave of ice, frozen in my seat. There was a looming terror of what it could mean. I had only heard of a couple things about red rooms before coming upon this. Only the most potent of teenage curiosity fueled my finger to copy and paste the link. What I saw is exactly what has been described by other accounts that have been posted. As such, bringing up the more gory no-sleep bits is a bit hard for me to think about, let alone write. Details will be omitted. It was a live webcam chat room, inside what looked to be an abandoned house. was a person sitting on a chair, sobbing with a pillowcase covering their body, and someone else moving around stuff. The person moving around was the admin of the chat session, and he came closer to the camera and uncovered the woman as she jumped in terror from the act alone. The woman with duct tape on her face, and a man with a black t-shirt over his head, or something similar. After welcoming people to the show, as the woman cried, he asked in chat what the crowd wanted to see and how much they would be willing to pay for it. I just remember being sat there in sheer terror, half trying to figure out how to help this lady, and half completely frozen stiff. The details are still a bit blurry, so even if I wanted to add them, it's difficult to do so. However, someone offered $500 for something along the lines of beating the woman with a baseball bat. I think I started crying, and to be completely honest, remembering it this much is about to bring me to tears again. The screams still haunt me. The man who paid $500 for that asked the admin to end her with a knife immediately. Someone had then asked me why I wasn't talking, and I pulled the plug on my computer and called my friend. I had told him what had happened, and all he said was, "You've probably just been reading too many stories and fell asleep at the computer, and you probably had a nightmare, man." Because of all that stories that float around about the dark web, no one ever believes this story, yet it happened. Every time it comes back in my mind, I pray that it was just a snuff film with a bad budget, but the screams and blood were too real for that. I need to buy myself off the deep web before somebody else does. I don't know how much time I have. I saw the offer hours ago. The only thing I can do now is tell you how I happened upon myself. It's stupid, really. Really, really stupid. I was trying to impress my friends. We were all enrolled in IT classes at our school. We would take turns seeing who could bring up the most screwed up shit we could find. It started out with showing our friends websites on the deep web people could buy drugs from, drugs we had never even heard of. That got boring real quick. Other friends began upping their content to try and stand out in the game of, I'm more tech savvy than you. They would bring more, and pictures, each more disgusting and gruesome than the last. Pictures of people dying, people being forced and tortured in unimaginable ways, people that were already dead. One person brought up a CP site, a CP snuff site, instead of people saying exactly how screwed up this was, and how this should all stop, and how this should have never began in the first place, and how stupid this was, and how much danger we were in. They congratulated her, gave her pats on the back, and asked her how she could even sit down properly in her computer chair because of how big her balls were. I felt like vomiting. I felt like beating the ever-loving crap out of everybody that couldn't believe how screwed up it was to see finding CP snuff on the internet as an accomplishment. I didn't say anything about it though. They began to notice that I had never showed off anything myself. I slowly began to get a new nickname at my school, something along the lines of being called a wimp. School became a living hell for me. My friends began shoving these horrible pictures in my face whenever they could. When I cried and vomited, they claimed they were trying to just desensitize me. Everything became too much though. I promised myself I wouldn't venture too deep, that I would only stay long enough to find something that would appease them. At this point, we were long past the point of finding cool drugs or what else. I knew I had to find something that would hold importance. At this point, I had been on the deep web for 3 hours. 5 hours was what it took to put an offer on me on the deep web. At one point, I remember opening a seemingly blank web page. Immediately, the light next to my computer camera flashed briefly. 5 or so seconds, I think. I minimized my browser to close Photo Booth, only to find that it wasn't even open. I didn't even think anything of it. I was tired, and I had school the next day, so I closed everything and went to sleep. The next few days went the same as the last, until yesterday. When I walked in, everyone was huddled around one desk, talking in hushed voices. A few of the girls were crying, and all of them were pale and covered in sweat. I didn't want to see whatever had caused this reaction. Nobody noticed I had walked in until after class had started. I caught several of them staring at me during the class. They had probably planned a new way to make me go home sobbing. I tried to leave class as quickly as I could, but one of them caught me by my shoulder and spun me around. We need to talk." His voice was quivering and his clammy, trembling hands were soaking through my t-shirt. He led me to the back of the classroom where other students in the same shape as him, or worse, were even huddled. He began passing out pictures. When it was my turn, I told them that I didn't want to see whatever they had. No. You have to see this." Something about the way he said it told me that this was serious, and it wasn't just regular bullying. I cracked open one eye. I saw a girl in the paper, along with some sort of description and a price. I opened my eyes further, and saw that it was an ad of some sort. I thought, oh, this isn't that bad. It hadn't fully hit me yet, until I read what was in the description. "Hi, it's me again. Back with some more for you guys. This one looks fairly young, with a bit of extra weight on her. I don't know, I need to get more pictures. I think it was her first time here. She wasn't protected at all, it was so easy. Enough about that though. For now, her starting price is $118,000. We'll go up or down when we get more pictures and do the physical inspection. Anyways, I'll keep you updated." There was a picture of me, staring at my computer intently. I had no social media. The only pictures of me were ones I had taken with a group. There were so many emotions swirling through me. One that stood above all was confusion. The crippling fear was lurking in the shadows for now. How had this person gotten this picture of me? My mind went back to when the light next to my camera turned on. One question answered. Next, the paralyzing fear set in. I felt my heart stop completely, then beat violently in my throat and ears. My stomach dropped. My eyes searched furiously over the paper for any information about me. I felt relief at the fact that my full name, along with my address, wasn't there. That all came crashing down when I realized that the person who had posted the ad had these, but chose not to put them in the description in case anybody wanted to grab me without paying. I knew without a doubt that others were going to be sold as well. I passed out. When I woke up, I was in the nurse's office, who proceeded to tell me I had a fever. My mom picked me up and took me home. I went straight to my room and locked the door. I haven't touched my PC since. I put tape over my phone camera, even though I know my efforts are futile. Everything I hear now is someone out to get me. The only sick thing that comforts me now is that the pretty girls that made me do this in the first place are going to sell quicker than me. If you're reading this, maybe you're still trying to find a free stream for WrestleMania 35. If you see one for WrestleMania 35, do not open it. I'm a huge wrestling fan, but this year, I unfortunately couldn't afford this year's WrestleMania. So, I naturally went looking for a clean stream, but couldn't find none. So, I dusted off my old laptop and went onto the dark web, somewhere I haven't gone in a minute, for good reasons. I loaded up Tor and started my search. My PPV already started, so I was getting antsy and wanted to find something quick. So, I clicked on the first thing I can find, WrestleMania 35, it was named. I found it strange, but figured I would give it a shot. It loaded up and the classic WWE logo appeared, but nothing else. Discouraged, I was about to close the tab when I heard something. It was faint, but slowly getting louder, some kind of random guitar song, and the kind that would want to amp you up. After a few more seconds, the WWE logo slowly disappeared, and a shot came into view. A crummy-looking wrestling ring with just a spotlight highlighting it. Figured out quickly this obviously wasn't the PPV I was searching for, but wanted to wait a minute away to see what could possibly happen. A few seconds later, a younger blonde man in his mid-30s with a nice suit walked into the center of the ring with a microphone. "Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, watching around the world, and welcome back to another year of WrestleMania. If you thought last year was brutal, you have no idea what's in store tonight." The music continued to play in the background, but I couldn't help but laugh after how corny and hacky this was. What fan-made garbage could this possibly be? Like a bad car wreck, I couldn't look away. "Our first match will be a no-holds-barred anything goes, and as you all know, we mean anything." Just then, a team of odd-looking little men came into the ring with buckets and other random objects you would figure in a hardcore wrestling match, for those that actually watch. But this was different. There were saws, knives, screwdrivers, and other random little tools, almost anything you can think of spread around the ring. "Let's bring out our first contender!" The announcer motioned to a corner of the room as the spotlight lit up the area. An old man, around at least 70, was blindfolded and being escorted to the ring by the little helpers, and he looked absolutely terrified the way he walked. When he got to the ring, they took off the blindfold, and I could tell he was screaming and looked confused, as the hairs on the back of my neck started to stand up, and my blood turned cold as I slowly realized what this might be. "Mr. David Childers, are you ready to compete for the Intertown title in the very first match of the night?" The old man tried to run, but was accosted by the helpers. The announcer held up the mic to his mouth. What's going on? Why am I here?" he pleaded. I started to contemplate turning it off when another song came in. This time, it sounded more hardcore and in another language. "Well, David, it's a little too late because here he comes, our defending IT champ, Malak!" A spotlight shone on the other side of the room as a huge, and I mean huge, dude, at least 7 feet tall and built like a brick shithouse, clumsily stomped to the ring, walking with some kind of club. As he entered the ring out of nowhere, a rusty-looking cage descended from the ceiling and covered the entire ring, locking the two men inside. One of the small helpers put on a striped shirt, and the bell rang. The old man immediately went to a part of the cage and started to climb it. As this happened, Malak made his way toward him, smiling as poor David slowly tried to reach more of the cage. My eyes were glued to the screen, as the brute looked around to see what cruel object he could use first. I still didn't know if this was real or not. I've heard of videos like this on the dark web, but I've never seen anything like it. My blood started to run cold. Malak picked up a screwdriver, went over to the poor old man, and jabbed it right in his lower leg as he kept trying to climb. He immediately fell and started screaming in agony. He went over to a bat that looked like it had barbed wire around it. He picked it up and seemingly looked around at an audience that clearly wasn't there, looking for approval. He shook his head and dropped it and went over to a bucket. He picked it up, looked inside, and got excited. He dumped it all over the ring, and it looked to be an assortment of nails, tacks, and other tiny, sharp objects. He immediately went over to the old man, picked him up, and brutally body-slammed over all of the nails, and when I say nails, I mean hundreds among other little sharp things. The old man didn't move, and blood immediately started to pour from beneath where he laid. I started to feel sick, but I still couldn't look away. Instead of pinning the old man, not sure why I would ever think that, he picked him up and did it again and again. The whole ring was covered with blood, and the old man stopped moving. Malak finally pinned him and won. The minions pulled the old corpse out of the ring and cleared the debris. The young announcer returned and proclaimed, "Your winner and still IT champion, Malak!" His song played again, and he slowly exited to wherever the hell they are. "Before our next match, let's have a quick review of last year." The screen fizzled and cut to the same ring as before, as an even worse sight than what I just saw came before me. 2 women were in the ring, as one was behind the other, grinding barbed wire between her mouth. Blood spewing everywhere, her face being torn and stretched open that would make even Heath Ledger's Joker blush. I felt the need to vomit and heaved into my trash can next to me. When I looked back up, the screen did a cheesy 90s-esque transition. There were 2 of the tiny little minions from before. One of them was on the top rope of the ring with some kind of vest, with large jagged spikes sticking out of the front of it. The camera zoomed out to show a man lying in the center of the ring. The minion did a frog jump and landed right on the man's chest, pretty much exploding as the blood went flying everywhere. I couldn't take it anymore as I logged out and vomited again, still not believing what I just saw. A good friend of mine is an obsessive deep web user, and I got to ask if he's heard or seen anything like I just saw. If anyone else knows anything, please let me know. Everyone knows about the deep web murderers, live kills, Shannon. We've all read the creepypastas. The horror stories. I believed them then, and now I know they're real. At the time, I figured the deep web sickness had spread into most dating apps, Bumble, Tinder, but that still didn't stop me. No, Melissa Ramsey was stubborn, and honestly, I was too horny to care. I wasn't pretty, not in a conventional way at least. At 19, I was a skinny black girl, big brown eyes hidden behind big glasses. My short straight hair and weird fashion sense did more to showcase a 5 head and scrawny body than my nicer qualities. With a bony ass and small boobs, I had nothing to attract boys. Even being a freshman at a nice college like Georgia Southwestern didn't mean anything when I lived with the folks instead of on campus. They had a nice house out in the country, sure, but there wasn't a single hot guy anywhere near us. So, yeah, I was quiet. I had no friends. Way too awkward to strike up a conversation in person, much less with any sexy guys. So, I did what any girl or guy in that spot would do. I hit up the apps. The only problem was Tinder, Meet Me, and Bumble were all strikeouts, and that was with me swiping right on every guy. Even my attempt at posting sexy pics on Gone Wild got 0 upvotes. I don't know, maybe I just didn't have the face or body the boys wanted. At least, not for the studs that I wanted. Of course, the only interest I got were the weirdos and unattractive dudes. Okay, maybe they were in my league, but still, why couldn't one of the hotties like me? Shit, I would settle for a one-night stand or Snapchat sextathon at this point. I wouldn't even mind the dirty pictures if it was a fine-ass guy sending them. After all, Lady Boner's GW could only get me so far. But then came my brutal epiphany, and the truth hurts. Let me tell you, the problem was me, Melissa, not the sexy guys. I was the ugly one, the loser, the female creep. So, I decided to overhaul my image, like a makeover you see in the movies. No, I didn't wear more makeup. I didn't ditch the glasses, didn't stylize my hair, or hit the gym. Instead, I made a fake Bumble profile. I chose the name Tara Heisler. A blonde-haired, blue-eyed Instagram model became my new image. She had tan skin, big boobs, tall, one of those Southern Belle co-ed types I'd spent over a decade being harassed by, and over a decade competing with, and now, she was me. The perfect catfish in this thirsty ocean. The boys didn't have a chance. I was slaying right and left. No longer did I have to settle for male versions of me. Gone were the awkward, weird types. In came the hotties. Maybe my theater experience helped me with the texting and chat performances. Or maybe it was just the natural benefit of being a conventional beauty. Then again, the model's plethora of sexy Instagram photos also helped me win some action. I could make those hunks do anything. White guys, black guys, jocks, hot nerds. It didn't matter. They bowed down to me, and the pics and vids they'd send. Oh my god. My secret P library grew bigger and better. There were many pics and videos that I really liked. Whatever Tara asked for, those boys sent. And they didn't hesitate when doing it for me. Not when I was on the Snapchat stage playing their dream girl. Okay, so maybe I wasn't gonna meet my future husband doing this. Not even my future friend with benefits. Or even my first serious boyfriend. But still, this was a fun way to satisfy my own desperate thirst. For once, I felt hot, powerful, a social media queen, and playing that sexy thought only allowed me to slip deeper into my own desires. These hotties responded to all my fantasies, pegging, devil's threesome, and watching two cuties screw each other. All the sexy stuff Melissa was too scared to ask. And all the sexy stuff these pretty boys would never do for a girl like me. Only under the spell of an all-American hottie. The tantalizing fun lasted through the first few days of winter break. The hot pictures and talks an amazing early Christmas present. I stayed cautious, of course. Those creepypastas still lingered in the back of my mind. When I wasn't overcome with excitement, that is. The inner heat I felt warmed me from both the cold and unease. My anticipation only increased with each new fine-ass match and steamy picture. This Tuesday night was more the same. A few minutes past 9:30, and I was still holed up in my room, sitting at my computer desk, surrounded by Nicki Minaj and Tarantino posters, not working on any scripts or monologues like I told my mom. My phone was blowing up with sizzling snaps. I managed to talk a baseball player into doing both twerking and jerking videos. Grinning, I lowered the phone and slid my hand towards my pajama pants. Underneath the green fabric, I was bracing for the show, all thanks to Tara. The bedroom door burst open. In a frenzy, I yanked my hand out and exited Snapchat, my dream delayed. Mom leaned in the doorway. The sloppy pajamas covered her chubby frame. Straight hair dangled down her back. Mom's small eyes stuck on me. "You okay, sweetie?" she said in a soft tone. Like a panicking crook, I struggled to suppress the nerves, breathing heavy. I checked my phone once more. Glad no pictures was grabbing Mom's nosy gaze. Yeah, I stammered. Folding my arms in the cold room, I faced her. "I'll come down in a minute." Mom flashed me a warm smile. "Okay, we're about to watch the movie." "I'll be there in a few minutes," I said. "I just wanted to finish the strip. I meant script." Cringing, my grip grew tighter on my phone, to my real entertainment. My mom chuckled. "Okay, we'll be downstairs." With that, she leaned back and shut the door. Now, I was back to my fantasy, back to the boys. A vibration further fueled my excitement. I turned my hungry eyes toward the phone, toward my new Bumble alert. "You got a new match." Grinning, I veered straight to the app, and what a match it was. Michael Barnes, 24, and in great shape, well over 6 feet tall, a physique as flawless as his baby blues. His straight brown hair complemented a smooth, slender face, the type of hunk destined for Wall Street success, or modeling agencies as well. "Hello," I said to myself. Immediately, I made the first move. "Sup, sexy?" Thankfully, the wait wasn't long. In seconds, Michael's reply appeared. "Hey cutie, want a snap?" My exhilaration only increased. Score another one for Team Tara. Our flirting continued on Snapchat for another 10 minutes. He sent me a few face pics, a sexy gym shot. I responded with the best of Tara's Instagram. Needless to say, I pushed Michael for more, like a repressed housewife eager for a peek at their neighborhood's new hottie. I was glad I wasn't scaring him off. Michael was rather playful. His arsenal of emojis and sarcasm kept me entertained. "What are you wearing, Tara?" he typed out in all caps, followed by a kissing emoji. Wanting to escalate the sexting session, I deliberated, then replied, "Getting late, so, just a bra and thong." I waited and waited for a response. In simultaneous dread and anticipation, Michael had seen my reply. In a painful taunt, his goddamn Bitmoji kept popping up from time to time, but there wasn't a word, not even a "is typing" tease. "What the hell?" I muttered. "Come on." A few minutes went by. Agonizing anxiety dominated me. The anguish hurt. Unlike me, Tara never lost a man, and she couldn't lose this one as well. Not when Michael had enraptured my female gaze. Bumble gave me another alert, another new match. I guess there was more fish in this sleazy sea, but still, I couldn't shake Michael. Right when things were about to get hot and heavy, he just dipped. Sure, Melissa was used to being ghosted by the Hutter guys, but not Tara. Determined, I sent another message. "I'm dressed to kill, boo." Trembling, I took a deep breath, felt even colder in the room, and then Michael's pending reply got me hot all over again. The internal excitement came roaring back, until I saw his message. A chilling unease extinguished my fire. "Have you ever killed before, Tara?" Michael asked. Again, his message was in all caps, the eerie question accentuated by a winking emoji. I was too scared to talk, too scared to even text. Michael's once adorable Bitmoji flashed a sinister smile, the image now possessing the aura of a killer doll, uncanny valley in overdrive, and then he started typing. I stole a glance at the door, not sure what to do. My aroused feelings replaced by fear. Michael's next message arrived. "Because I have." A hash vibration accompanied the next text. "Remember that story about Patrick?" He sent me a link. A creepypasta. I just saw a girl I matched with on Tinder get killed. Trapped in the chilling conversation, I struggled to turn away. I couldn't. Michael's new message appeared. That was me. His Bitmoji's grin only grew wider, more deranged, the big blue eyes like daggers into my soul. That was me, Melissa. Read his next text. A hollow horror spread across me. Numbness, the after effects of a most unsettling shock. I didn't even flinch when Michael sent another message. Melissa Ramsey, Americus, Georgia. Shivering, I struggled to hold the phone. Tears fell down my face. In quick succession, the final text arrived. 14 Price Street. Michael's Bitmoji vanished off my screen, off into the night, and deep in my sickened gut, I knew right where he was going. I leapt out of my seat and bolted for the door. In total panic, my night of pleasure turned to a night of horror. No longer was I confident Tara. I was back to helpless Melissa, the timid geek. Clinging to my phone, I ripped open the door and rushed into the upstairs hallway. The lights were out, every single one of them, and somehow the house was colder. Scanning the scene, I looked all around me. The other bedroom door was closed, a nearby shelf a towering shadow, the hanging picture frames nothing more than blank canvases in the dark. Downstairs, it was pitch black. I saw nothing, heard nothing. The dim lamps from my room, the only light close by. "Mama?" I yelled. I stood there in the freezing silence, waiting for a soothing voice that never came. The phone pulsated in my hand. Startled, I confronted Snapchat. Michael had sent me another link, to a domain and extension I've never heard of, but a site that sent chills down my spine. Live kills. Uneasy, I stared at the link. Another message from Michael appeared. "Enjoy, Tara." I forced myself to mash it. The video swallowed up my screen, the footage precise and pristine, and in a setting I was all too familiar with, our living room. I'd caught the middle of a bloodbath. Redness was scattered everywhere, all across our exotic rugs, over the large flat screen. My father's corpse was sprawled across the couch, deep cuts in him, his face partially flayed. Mom's screams a brutal soundtrack to the massacre. The camera captured Mom staggering into a corner, blood soaked through her PJs. Weeping, she held her hands out towards a masked man I was certain was Michael, or at least the man I'd been talking to for the last half hour. The killer stood tall. He wore dark clothes and an even darker ski mask, his long butcher knife coated in blood, the blade marking my mother for the most horrible death. "No!" I yelled through the tears. Then I saw it. Beneath the murders, comments piled up. On screen were users of all genders and races and ages, an excited audience. "Oh, he's got her now! Kill her! I love this guy, so sick!" read their messages. The comments kept piling in. Small boxes showed viewers watching on Skype, their eyes and expressions hungry for blood. Overcome by panic, I exited the video, looking towards the stairs. "Mom!" I screamed out. The eerie silence lingered, the sound of death. Fighting through the emotions and terror, I called my mom's phone, a desperate attempt to reach her, to save her. A buzz sliced through the silence. Behind me, a beam of light caught my eye. I whirled around, and a horrified scream escaped my lips. Through my bedroom's lights, I saw Mom's head a few feet away, the head positioned like a work of art on the shelf. Blood poured out of the neck in a red river. Her long hair smeared across her face's many slices. The glowing cell phone jammed straight in her shrieking mouth like a candle in a jack-o'-lantern. Mom's scared eyes stayed on me, unblinking, haunting eyes. "No!" I screamed. Breaking down in tears, I trembled in the hallway. My knees went wobbly, my arms quivering. I was a scared soldier come face to face with death. All those dark web creepypastas are reality in my own home. My phone pulsated to life, drawing me back to Snapchat, back to my parents' killer. A new snap from Michael greeted me. Even this frightened. I didn't hesitate to play it. After all, I had nowhere to run. I couldn't just block this creep. I had to confront him. A picture of Michael stared back at me, him in the ski mask, standing on our staircase, His blue eyes shine through the darkness, much like his sharp knife. Blood-red font spelled out his final message, "You're next, Tara." The crazy smiling emoji, a ferocious finish to this terrifying threat. The other bedroom door slammed open, and there came my stud charging at me. Moving quick, Michael raised the butcher knife, blood dripping off its edge. A huge laptop collapsed in Michael's other gloved hand, its camera ready to capture my close-up. "Aw, shit!" I yelled. I jumped back in my room. Images of my parents flashed through my mind. Dad's face, Mom's head, the visceral fear forever resting in her dead eyes. In the frigid hallway, I gripped my cell phone tighter. Anger boiled up inside. Michael drew the knife back, ready for the kill. A fury conquered me. Call it fight or flight, girl power, whatever the hell you want. All I know was I was still scared and in tears when I hurled that phone at him. The fastball smashed him right in the face. Crying out, Michael fell into the shelf before hitting the ground. He dropped the blade, the laptop. Creaking through the night, the shelf toppled over, pinning him to the ground. Mom's head laid right beside Michael, her gaze stuck taunting his squirming body. His arms flailed about, splashing through the blood. I then made my move, grabbed the butcher knife, and confronted him. Michael held up his hands, a futile effort to stop him. My rage won. With a rebel yell, I plunged the blade into him. Blood splurted over me like war paint. I pushed my hair to the side. Behind bitter eyes, I watched Michael's arms collapse, watched blood build up beneath him, watched his body go still. Lodged in him, the knife was my victory flag. Michael, my latest conquest. The adrenaline kept me warm on this winter night, not to mention helped console me from the tragedy. Curious, I reached towards the ski mask. In a quick tug, I yanked it off, and there was the dream guy from Bumble, Michael Barnes, his blue eyes now faded with death, his face less handsome, his body less muscular under the gore. All the while, the laptop's frantic comments kept going, an assembly line of voyeurs. I confronted their many disappointed faces, the crowd blood-blocked. "Screw you!" I screamed. Several vicious stomps smashed the screen into smithereens. Death to live kills, at least for tonight. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw a figure appear, creeping in from the dark depths of the other bedroom. A tall figure in dark leggings and a flowing cape. A woman, her entrance like that of a rock star taking the stage. The fear coming back, I faced her. Faced the mannequin mask, its long, mocking smile. The big eyes beneath it, the big boobs beneath the black clothes, and the even bigger knife in her hand. There was Shannon, the stuff of creepypasta lore, right here in the flesh, showing off brute strength. Shannon pushed me to the ground. She glided over me, her movements effortless. Shannon put the knife to my throat, a headlock I wouldn't dare try to escape. In a theatrical motion, Shannon held out her phone. A message already prepared for me was on display, the letters big and crude. "Do what you're told and you'll live." The winking emoji next to it did little to comfort me. So, here I am now, in a house I've never been to, and in a room without a window. I'm trapped. No longer Melissa Ramsey, but Tara Heisler. I guess my wish did come true. I'm the bombshell. A bombshell crafted by Shannon and all the others involved at Live Kills. The process wasn't easy. This wasn't Botox or a smooth surgery. Instead, my skin was bleached in the cheapest way possible, similar to the dye they used to keep my hair bleach blonde. Blue contacts now disguised my eyes. Crude surgeries gave me the lousiest silicone for the big boobs. Now, I sit alone in this room, a poor man's version of that Instagram model I based my catfish persona on. The laptop and cell phone, my only items. The thousands of horny girls and boys, my only company. People not unlike me in the days before I met Shannon. Looking back, I can't help but wonder if Michael was really the killer or a victim. If he was someone like me, someone they dolled up for the kills, someone they forced into this twisted game. I've been told my turn is tonight. My first live stream murder. Shannon is joining me to make sure I go through with it. Both of us armed with those huge knives. I'm not really sure what else to say, what else to do. All I can tell you girls and guys is, don't get too thirsty. Please don't be Melissa. And if you end up matching with a Tara Heisler, A southern blonde charmer. Be careful, because it's either gonna be you or me who makes it through the night. Thanks for watching, Wolfpack. If you want to submit your story, my email and subreddit will be in the description below. And also, if you're not subscribed, please do if you want. And don't forget to like and comment as well. Have beautiful nightmares. And I will see you next time.